Hi everyone, welcome to your uncomfortable dialogues of today. Today I have a special guest, my friend Ksenia Babayeva, and we're going to talk about war. She's originally from Russia, so we're going to have her here, and I'm going to invite her. She accepted to have this conversation with me very courageously, and I'm very grateful to her for being here with me to have this conversation. So,
Hi, Tessie.
hello, Ksenia. How are you?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'll see how it's working out. Sorry, it's the first time doing this.
No worries. So what I do all the time is I do a little disclaimer for everybody watching this conversation. So if this is too much for you, just feel free to step out of the conversation. This is by no means an attempt to trigger people or to create polemic or to attack anybody personally. It's just having a conversation, a dialogue between two human beings about uncomfortable subjects that are hard to talk about or to address, and in order to open the dialogue between people and trying to connect with one another in a more human level. So today, as I told everybody, we're going to talk about war, the war raging right now between Russia and Ukraine. And well, Ksenia is from Russia, but I'll let you introduce yourself. Ksenia, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm gonna correct you. I'm from Belarus, which is next to Russia and right next to Ukraine. I see Valeria here. She's from Russia.
Valeria's from Russia. You're from Belarus. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Maybe we could get a third opinion of, if she could join. I don't know if
actually, Valeria, you can request to join this conversation. I would love to have you here too, if that's comfortable for you, and if you want to join us for this conversation, I would absolutely love that. If you're there, let me see. I cannot request you if you hold on. I don't know if I can add someone. I think Valeria, if you see if you can request. Oh, it is not loading.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll see Valeria soon enough. Maybe we can talk about it. But so briefly about me. Okay. First of all, I don't want to, impose anything that I'm not, and I'm not gonna, and I don't want to say like, oh, I know exactly what's going on. I don't. And truth to be told, no one does, because what's happening right now is it's affecting everyone on a different level. And no one holds the full truth. We don't know exactly. So I'm from Belarus. My family is still back home. My mother's aunt is in Ukraine with her family. I have relatives all over Eastern Europe. So it is affecting in a great way. I know I'm blessed to be here safe physically, but mentally it's a whole different journey. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there that I'm not fooling anyone. I'm not, I'm here, I'm safe. What's happening right now is not safe, and people there are suffering. And as we talk in here, cities are being bombed and people are dying. Not even people that are fighting, but like people like us sleeping right now could be bombed and never wake up. So yeah,
just close the window here. It's making a lot of noise. Absolutely. And in any way, this conversation is to enlighten anyone about the situation, the global situation that's happening right now. Or for that, you can look into other resources like CNN or BBC or other resources that have a little bit more accurate historical and political information.
Yeah, my full suggestion, if I may, I would say don't look only at one. If you're, let's say, if you're in America and you're Republican and you're looking only at Republican news, do yourself a favor and look at the Democratic news or some independent news channels, because the truth we are told is so different from the actual truth, and depending on what side you are. So this is what's major media war is happening right now in that part of the world, and which is a part of the issue that some people think is Russia invading the Ukraine, and some people think that Russia is saving Ukraine. And a lot of people in Russia don't understand what's actually happening, because Russia is huge if you look at this.
Yep.
And the Russian government is using a source of propaganda that was used during Hitler, that was used during USSR. So people don't know the truth if they only look at one source of news and only one side. So the same is happening in America. If you hear a Democrat or Republican talking, they have two opposite views of the same issue. Nevertheless, the issue is still there. So that is one thing. Another thing is that, well, also going back to the news and stuff, there is an effect. If everyone tells you, like, if everyone tells you that blue is actually red, and they telling you many times, after a certain amount of times, you're gonna believe that blue is no longer red. I'm sorry, blue is no longer blue, it's red.
Yep.
So, but the same goes in reverse. So if we as people are able to use social media to spread the truth, maybe we can wash out all that propaganda that's happening in Europe, that's happening in America, that's happening in Eastern Europe, it's happening in Russia. So I appreciate you doing this conversations, because this is another way. Dima, sorry, I just saw someone there. Anyway, it's so funny, I can watch people who's here. But yeah, the truth that maybe using the platforms, Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, and spreading the news among your friends, because you trust your friends, you trust your family, saying word of mouth, spreading the truth, it could actually help to wash out all the television propaganda that we're watching, that we're fed the truth. And I don't know if Don't Look Up came out just in time or a little bit too late for us to wake up and stop believing what we're seeing in the news and start actually thinking with our head. That's going back to my point. Look at two sides of the issue and come up with your own truth.
Of course, to your conclusion. And obviously we're not going to know, like, we're in different places in the world right now. We're not going to know how people are really, you know, absorbing all of this situation that's going on, but it's important to just talk about it and you know, like, to open up this dialogue. And yeah, don't like, if we have these mediums of communication nowadays, it must have a positive effect on people, and not just using it for other reasons, right, that are not so deep or relevant as today. So
yeah, and it's interesting because we, you know, I used to be like this. We think that something happening over there or somewhere else and it's not related to you. Well, Hitler could have been stopped too if it was just more people woke up on time, you know. And what's happening has been happening in the world, and different wars, and just because it seems so far away, it seems like it doesn't affect us. We don't have to think about it. We have kids, we have school, we have work, we have so many issues, and we don't think about it. Well, maybe we should. And population, it's more people on earth than politicians.
yes.
If we all stand up for our truth and stand up against this, whatever is happening right now, we forget that we hire them.
Yeah.
We're not working, we're not their slaves. We hire them to be the leaders of the country. And if they don't, you know, fail in democracy, diplomacy that's happening right now, it's a failed diplomacy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And it's just, you know, this is a very, like, I was thinking about, like, bringing this conversation to the light, and like, that's why I asked you, and, you know, Valeria that is here listening, and, like, please feel free to put any input in the chat that you feel, like, please be part of this conversation, even if you are not on camera. I was hesitant of, like, saying, oh, should we talk about this? This is a very uncomfortable, a very sensitive subject. but it is like, well, if we never talk about these things, if we do not like allow ourselves as like civilians and normal citizens of like you know, of the world, how can we you know, how can we even aim to create a sense of resonance globally, or like or like how do you say, like interconnection, that we're all connected, even if it's not in your country, it will have an impact in the whole world, and it will have an impact in how we see the world, how we live our life, how our friends are receiving it that are from those countries. And you know, so that's why I said, like, let's go for it, and let's just discuss it, and you know, like.
Yeah, and another thing is misinformation also creates hate right now. And I know Valeria could attest to that, is where Russian people are being discriminated right now, or people that actually against the war within the country, and they're still being sanctioned and all of that. But I know it's not the most important thing right now, but it's just like, it's another level of what this whole situation is creating. This hate is dividing people further, and
Yeah.
and it's not the end.
It seems like I've been thinking about this for a few years now, before all this exploded and everything. And I, you know, when I was creating a long time ago, I was creating a piece of writing for PTSD, and I was like, you know, observing how us human beings tend to repeat the same like cycles through history, and right now it's like we have this whole network of communication and power of like information, that maybe in the World War II there wasn't that amount of information, because everything was either in the newspaper or what you heard from another person, or from another person that was like, you know, being a refugee and told you the circumstances about the things that are happening. But right now it's all in our like grasp. We can grasp it, we can see it, we can actually acknowledge it, and give space to talk about these subjects, and not just, you know, always be talking about things that are like empty or shallow, or I mean, I don't know, it's so delicate to talk about this.
No, that is true, and that's why it has to be spread out as much as possible using social media, because we have all these tools right now. Like I said earlier, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have Facebook. We use social media, yeah, like talking about shallow things, which is nice when nothing else is going on. Yeah, sure, if it's pleasing you, talk about whatever shallow things make you happy. But when there is an issue, use that. Use the social media, connect. It's amazing, and it's amazing that we have this tool right now, literally see what's happening on the other side of the world. If we go back to Ukraine, and you think, you could see the video of people filming maybe 10 minutes ago of a missile hitting something, and you see that, and you don't need to wait until 7 p.m. news to hear what bullshit they're going to tell you about the story. You can already know the news, understand what's happening, and make your own decisions. So yeah, that's why use the social. I mean, like my profile, my stories and all of this in the last 2 years, maybe a little bit crazy. It's all political, but I don't know how I can be blind to what's happening, especially when people that I love are affected, and not use my own like ways of speaking, my voice, visuals, whatever I like, for the purpose of spreading the truth. Because like I said, we don't know the truth. No one does.
Yeah, and right now it's like, it seemed like that right now the world is so segregated and so divided, and there is this tendency, it's almost like tendency to like keep on creating separation, and keep on segregating, and keep on divided, and you know, since Napoleon, like the phrase was divide and conquer, right? So
exactly.
So if we keep on doing that, instead of uniting one another to like really stand for the minimal rights of a human being or humanity, that is the right to live peacefully, we are forgetting that we are actually human beings, and we're completely delusional, I think.
Well,
And
it's like a habit of human nature of follow. Someone leads and you follow, and you don't have to think for yourself. And unfortunately, that's been the problem. It doesn't matter what country you're from. I think everyone falls under this comfort zone. I don't have to think for myself. Someone else can tell me what to do, uh, what is my political views, and however, like, decided for them the whole thing, and they don't have to think. You just, and yeah, and right now we have all the possibilities to communicate.
yeah,
we should use it.
we should use it, definitely. I don't know how, like, in your particular, like, for you say that you have like some members of your family that are going through this in, like, how we say in Spanish, in carne propia, in like their own like, day by day basis. So, like, I don't know if how is that, like, how is this conflict like affecting everyone? Like, I don't know.
What do you mean?
Like, you mentioned that there was some like of your closest people that are like having a very close encounter to this conflict, and I was
Oh,
wondering if they're okay, if they're safe, if
we don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. So far, yes, but I don't know. There are certain things I can't say on social media because my family is still in Belarus, and if some people don't know, there is you can get to jail for like, for dislike, for emoji of a clown, of emoji of a poop. They could put you in jail for that. So certain things were not. I still have to be conscious of what I'm saying. The same
Absolutely.
happening in Russia, by the way. So if you know anyone Russian and you feel like they're a little bit passive, well, they're not. They just can't. So yes, but yes, you're only safe, and I guess, I don't know. It's just the day by day. You don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, and no one does. But in certain places in the world right now, it's sort of safe, even though people are crying like, oh, COVID and 2 years. Well, guess what? You just gotta, yeah, it's terrible, but it's not. You think nothing else could be worse, and we constantly seeing that things are getting worse and worse and worse and worse until like it's a war, and I don't know what could be worse than a war. I don't, unless it's a nuclear explosion, which is not that far away if one person decides to press that red button. So yeah, you just pray every day, whatever God you believe, or not God, the universe, thinking for this day to open your eyes and close your eyes peacefully, and everyone else you love and know also opening their eyes and closing their eyes, and have food to eat, and whatever shelter they in right now, they at least have a roof that's not gonna fall on them from a missile. So yeah, that's, you're just being grateful for this.
Absolutely.
And then you just learn to appreciate things you have in life a little bit more. Yeah, I can't imagine there, since we're talking about it, there are people that actually live in all this comfort they live in here in America or Europe, and they are going there to Ukraine to volunteer, to fight, to do something. And I think that is a courage, because you actually have a choice. The people in Ukraine did not have a choice. They were just woke up one morning and they were under fire. But these people that are putting everything aside, their personal lives, their personal ambitions, and just going there, I think it takes a real courage to be like, yes, I'm gonna help this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, I have been seeing that from some of the news that I looked into, and it's like if we're not capable of like really putting like all together as countries and nations, and if we're not able to put an end to this, like my mind goes to, is this gonna, like, I mean, it's so hard to say it even like life or anything, but is this gonna explode into a third world war, or are we gonna go there, and then the destruction could be massive, because right now it's no longer like bullets, and it's just nuclear weapons, that even if a nuclear weapon does not affect directly to your country or wherever you are, the territories, more territories will be radioactive, and it spreads out. It lasts for so many years, like looking at Hiroshima, and how it's still today radioactive after 80 years of the explosion of the bomb. Or I mean, I don't know if I'm correct in that 80 years number, or it's like an 80-year, 70-year span, 80-year span. And like, yeah. I just it leaves you like as a normal person with like no political power, no money power, no influential media power. It just leaves you helpless of what can you do to help, what can you do to like to to be of support, and yeah, it's what you were saying about being punished and in jail, and just because of expressing something, right? It's just,
yeah. Well, the least you can do is talk about it. The least. The worst is being silent, because I think that's silence. That's where people become sheeps. They just follow and they can't do anything after. I mean, look at. I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone, but look at China. Look at North Korea. And it started somewhere, right? It wasn't like this all the time. So it just depends how long are we gonna allow this. Like the same with my country, the same with Russia. It's just, if it was stopped at some point, it wouldn't get so bad, and it could get worse. And what's happening right now, it's that's what it is, and it needs to be stopped before it gets even worse.
Yeah, I hope so. Like we're all, like you say, being grateful and praying every day that it doesn't escalate. But at the same time, you think like, well, what are we gonna do as a human race to not allow this to escalate? So that
and they tried before it all started. I don't know if you remember, but in February they were going back and forth because it was becoming pretty steamy. But no one believed it's going to happen. No one believed that Putin could be so crazy to actually invade the country. But yeah, so they tried, and that's what I'm saying. Like, diplomacy failed. That's how they did their job, and it's hard. I get it. It's hard, but try to communicate before it escalates to this level. And yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's also hard when someone is being very fanatic, and how do you deal with that? How long can you allow someone to dictate the rules, and how can you stop that part? It's difficult.
It's very difficult, yeah, because well,
it's like a bully. You're dealing with a bully on a crazy world level. I mean, I don't want to take any sides or be like, oh, this is good, this is bad, because this is not a sport. This is not a sport. Everyone has their goods and bads. Someone has more, someone has less, but someone is tolerable, like at least you can live with, and another one is just becoming absolutely insane. Where like, how if you put in people in jail that are against war, something is wrong.
Definitely.
Something is wrong.
Definitely.
And I don't care what you believe, what is your political preference. It's just wrong.
It is. Yeah, it's just like eradicating our principal right that it is to be able to live. We have this life, and it's been cut for a lot of people and in a lot of places and in a lot of circumstances, and it's just then where does it go? All of the things of evolution and like throughout the years of the human history, where we think that we're technologically evolved, and we think we're more illuminated or whatever, and it's like, well, we're not, because we're still killing each other. If we were more evolved, we would have find a way to like find solutions that could at least spare the life of our citizens, and the life of the people that didn't choose it, and that, you know, they have no escape. Because if a bomb suddenly lands here next, like, knock on wood, but if a bomb landed here on next to my window, what would I do? I would just, you know, like, just I wouldn't have a choice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you really can't, you can't really fully protect yourself from things like this. And I mean, when this is all started, now almost a week ago, like a couple hours, wait, today is, yeah, a couple hours is going to be a week. Yeah, I didn't know there were bomb shelters or ways to protect yourself from bombing. And because you don't think about it in your normal human life, you don't think that you need to have a bag packed with first aid emergency and emergency food, emergency water, because you just don't think something's going to happen to you. And yeah, we're not protected from this. We're not protected virtually from anything. And
nowhere, you know,
Nowhere.
like, you know, this is not, I don't think this is, we shouldn't be taking this lightly, anyone. And like, the invitation is just to like maybe unite in prayer, or in like communicating and like sharing information and everything, so that this is not taken as an isolated incident that is only affecting that part of the world, and that it, you know.
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's affecting a lot, and if you don't see it directly yet, it will, because for various economical reasons, for
Gas,
besides
electricity.
what's happening, but it's also history is really important to know. In I wish I had better history teachers, because now I have to catch up with a lot of things that I didn't learn in school. But it's if you know the history, you see the red signs right away. You know, like I said in the beginning, Hitler could have been stopped. And now with all the technologies that we have for our use, we have to use it to communicate. So this disaster, everyone agrees it was a disaster. Why are we repeating this? Why are we doing this again? It's just on that part of the world.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But I think it has a lot to do, again, it has a lot to do with people not having the full pie of the truth. They only have one side. And yeah. So there is an uncomfortable topic happening right now in families, when one part of the family believes one thing and another part of the family believes the other. I mean, people divorce, parents think one thing, kids think another thing, and yeah, this is, how's that for uncomfortable conversation? You want to see family like this in your talk?
Tell me about it. It's just, but it's good. It's good that, as you say, that we're opening up these subjects, because it's like the only way that we're going to create that in every level of our existence, in the minimal things, like talking about our parents' divorce, or abuse in a household, or you know, harassment, or anything that it's like on our close level, because we might not be, you know, politicians or military to be like really immersed in like the active war, but we can, you know, have dialogues and like start opening up the Pandora boxes and saying, I really want to talk about this. I didn't think that you know, that was working for me, and I want to know your side. I don't need to convince you, but you need to know also what I feel. And the only way is just to like really start like educating and educating ourselves to be bold enough to have these dialogues with one another.
Yeah, I think the power is in communication, 100%, in the true communication. But even if you were wrong in the beginning, I think after you communicate, after you open up, you come out to an understanding. You come out to, speaking of a power of communication, people going back to Ukraine, people in Ukraine from smaller cities, they see army approaching, like tanks and stuff. They're able to stop the tanks, at least from what I see. Once again, I'm not holding the truth. I'm just seeing what I'm seeing, and I'm using my own head to justify or come up with my truth. But they are stopping the Russian troops from entering any further. They're blocking the road, and they communicate. They try to communicate. They try to tell them, go back. We don't need you, because these people that are invading the country right now, they fed their own truth, and they don't know. So this is their uncomfortable conversation. This is where they are probably not convinced, but at least people are trying to tell them, we don't want you here. Get out of here. This is our land. We didn't call you. But they think we are saving you from whatever evil they were told.
Yeah.
Communication.
And then raising the question of like, to everybody here in their own like personal meditation or mindfulness or whatever, like raising this question of until what point or until like what is the limit of you or me or everybody following instructions, like until what point and what consequence are you willing to follow instructions?
Oh yeah, and this is huge. This is huge back home and in that part of the world, is because people are given commands and instructions that are illegal, but they're given by higher people, so they have to obey. Or do they? Do they have to obey?
That's where it gets very controversial. That's do you have to follow those rules, or can you just make your own mind? And like, there will be consequences for not following up those instructions, but I don't know, like when I was doing, like, back to the thing about the PTSD that I was telling you about, that when I wrote that piece, I was talking about the Holocaust, right, and about Hungarian survivors, and I went to some people to gather information and to ask them, how was it? And one of the things they said is, like, if I was asked, and this is like very graphic and very strong what I'm about to say, so if at any point anybody feels triggered, I'm terribly sorry. It's part of the history. This person told me, if you as a soldier or as a leader of a troop are told to put, I don't know, 2,000 people in a church, lock the doors and burn the church, and just hear people screaming and dying, would you do it? Even if your life is at risk, like, would you do it? Like, would you live? Would you survive that charge in your history, like, footprint, and in your karma, and in your next lives, and in all of your universal connections, or whatever you choose to believe in? How could you live with that? So it's like, oh, it's really, when they told me this, I was like, yeah, but like, you asked them, but they could have been shot, and their answer was like, it was very simple: shoot me, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna and I'm not gonna, like, charge myself with that for the next thousands of years of energy. Or
So they didn't do that?
No, of course they locked the people in and they burned the church with all the people inside, unfortunately. But it is like, it's just, it's just like that question that I told you, like, until when you decide to put a limit to the instructions that you've been told, as anyone, as an employee, as anybody. Like, it's just, where's your consciousness? Where is your humanity? That's the question, and it's really hard.
And the different, like, yeah, on a different level as humans, as civilians, on a different level, we are responsible for, um, maybe it's not as dramatic or horrible as, you know, killing, but we're still, as civilians, as professional human beings, we are responsible for these decisions. Where do we turn on our own head and start seeing what is white and what is black, and when do we understand, um, that's something that we are told is not truth, or something that we are told is not, um, we shouldn't do, we shouldn't follow, or yeah, and then it escalates, and then things like this happen, and then yeah, it's especially like, and I don't think it's a big example, uh, but I think everywhere in the army or in during the war, stuff like this, like this happens. You are given instructions to do something that is against any rules. I mean, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like we were talking, on Wednesday, on Tuesday, killing versus murder. I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah. What is the difference, right?
yeah, but
Like
is there really different? I mean, I
where do
understand
you,
from some sort of psychological point of view, but it's, you're killing a human being. You're a murderer.
like where does that line gets crossed is, and then the problem is that we all carry different opinions and different, formatings from like, cultural, political, racial, and all of that. But yeah, at some point we need to like do the exercise of connecting to the the basic of our existence and saying, is this gonna have consequence? And also like to step a little bit out of ourselves and say, what I'm about to do, is it gonna affect a lot of people? Am I gonna really, like destroy lives of people? And that also goes in like jobs and stuff, like deciding who gets promoted or whatever. Is that gonna have consequence? And how can I, like try to aim to amortiguar, like put a cushion on those consequences so that the person doesn't get so affected by the decisions or the actions that the other person is choosing to do, right? Anyway.
Yeah,
um
and it's interesting that people that give you those instructions usually are not the people who do that themselves. And
I was
yeah,
thinking about that.
that's
Yeah.
another aspect. It's like, okay, maybe last point I'm bringing about Ukraine is that I don't know if you know, but so Ukrainian president had a chance to flee the country a million times. He stayed in the capital that is being one of probably the most, well, maybe the second most affected targets right now, and so he chose to stay in the city, um, with the soldiers. I don't think he's right there in like the first line of fighting, but he's there and he's doing his duties how he can do that. And you take a Russian president who's hiding away from people with, like, even from COVID, he's like hiding away. He didn't want to see anyone. He's so just like a contrast of, um, people in power and or leaders, how they handle the situation, how they lead. How do you lead by example, or do you push people forward to do whatever you don't want to do? Like one person is sending thousands of people to be dead, and another person is standing there with his soldiers trying to protect his land. It's kind of very interesting observation of character, and that tells you right there too, like if you really think with your head, it's like, who would I believe more? Who would I think has more truth in this story?
Yeah. Yeah. uh, this was a very, very, very powerful and uncomfortable conversation, because then yeah, like I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate your candor and your vulnerability. This is not Valeria, thank you for being here. Like thank you for like putting yourself out there and having this conversation with me.
I would love to hear Valeria's point of view on this, because she's someone who is, you know, Russia, what they're going on through, and how they see this, because I'm sure it's a different point of view.
Absolutely.
Especially, yeah, and I think what makes a difference for me is that I'm here, and I'm not there.
Yeah.
It's a little different, and maybe a little bit of an outsider view on things.
Oh, absolutely.
No, but thank you. I think, you know, this don't look up thing, it has to happen. We have to look up. We have to talk. We have to speak. Even though we don't know, we still have to have this conversation. We can't be closing our eyes. We're not in the age of people following a king or following the emperor, or we are. We like to claim that we have all of our power, that we have the freedom of voice, that we are so educated. Well, let's use it, people.
Yeah. No, absolutely, I agree with you. And if, like, Valeria, I know that your internet wasn't up to joining in our conversation, but if you feel like writing something to me about your point of view or about some of your thoughts or your ideas, I'm very happy to put those thoughts in the description of this video, of this conversation, so that we have, like, it's like you are in the conversation, but in a written form, and I would feel honored to do that as well. So, well, thank you so much, Ksenia, for your time, and like sending you lots of love, sending lots of love to the people that you know that are there as well. Valeria, sending you love and light to Russia and to all of the people that are suffering near you. And let's hope that we're able to stop this conflict from becoming something that will change the course of our history once more.
Yep. I mean, 100%. Thank you, Tessie.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this, and sending lots of love to everybody wherever you are.
Yes.
Thank you, Gali, for your comment. Thank you so much for everybody that is here. Thank you. Take care of yourselves and stay safe, right? Kisses to you all.